What's going on, everyone? Your friendly neighborhood fanboys are here, minus Alex, and we have a lot to talk about today. Rebel Moon. We had the opportunity to see it on December 15th. We're going to give our spoiler-free thoughts, and we are also going to get in the recent Jonathan Majors and Marvel news, which is a big shakeup. Big shakeup. But before we get into that, if you could please hit that like button, it really, really would help us out. Subscribe to our channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not and you're on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever it is you listen to podcasts on. Ubuntu, if you're magically funneling your podcast through Ubuntu or Linux, feel free to also subscribe to our channel, follow the channel. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Yeah. Without further ado, let's get into Rebel Moon. So I am unaware about like full spoilers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're allowed to cross that line, so let's keep it kind of. We'll keep it neutral. Yeah. Okay, let's start with you.
No, I want everybody else to go first. You guys go first.
Okay, Reeves.
All right. Well, as everybody who really knows us knows, we like Zack Snyder. And, we were really hoping that this would be a great film and we were going to love it just as much as his DC run. And I was disappointed. So I think there were cool parts. Mm-hmm. As we all know, the visuals were great. Yep. It's Zack Snyder. Of course, the visuals are going to be great. You know, what's his name? DJ or JD? No, DJ.
DJ,
the VFX.
Desjardins.
Just can't miss. He's the best. Score was decent. Sounded a lot like Justice League.
Identical.
Cutting room floor of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Got picked up.
But yeah, I don't know. The story, I thought it started really strong. I was really into it. Like the first probably, 45 minutes, I was like, yep, okay, here we come. This is going to be good. It was a nice little setup, and then about halfway through, I was like, wow, I can't wait for this to be done.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I wanted so badly to love it.
Me too.
Even Alex was saying the same thing. He's like, I wanted to love it. But I don't know. Like, there were a lot of cool things. Like, I think we were talking at the beginning about... the beginning of the end of the night.
Yes.
We were speaking about the movie when we came out of the theater. This stuff with the robot Jimmy that you see in the trailer.
The Jimmy hat.
The Jimmy hat. Yeah. That was my favorite stuff, and it was the most intriguing to me. And all this stuff that's like in the actual like village on the Rebel Moon, so to speak, is like that was the most interesting to me. And as soon as they started introducing character after character after character, like I'm watching some pseudo Justice League, except it's not the characters I love, it's random ones that I don't care about. I was bored. I was bored, and like they don't explore them well enough. And when you do actually get to meet them, there's a lot of like weird stuff that goes on, specifically with, that one boss battle, I'll call it.
Because even I'll take this point from Alex, like. They didn't even talk to this person that they were trying to like get on the team. It was just like they showed up, and then all of a sudden they all flew away together, and it was like, what just happened?
Very weird.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'll say is like the performances overall, I would say are great for what the content is.
Totally.
Some characters were wasted, and just hilariously outed from the movie pretty quickly, which was disappointing considering the build up towards those characters. I'm trying to be as vague as possible.
Yep.
But I was disappointed, although I don't want to say I'm not excited to see the second part, but I am curious to see part 2.
Me too. Curious is a good word to put.
Yeah.
Dan?
So I came out of the theater very, very, very confused. Okay, so I'd like to preface by saying I agree with. We had a very interesting train ride home talking about this movie. We could have recorded and had a whole podcast on that train cart.
We hopped on the Polar Express.
Yeah. Tom Hanks was there, punched our tickets.
Yeah.
Tim Skanks.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with like 99, if not 99.9% of what you guys are saying. Like I agree, but like I didn't leave the theater as upset as you guys, or like it didn't bother me as much as I thought. Like I don't know, I walked out of the theater in a good mood, and I was like, yeah, like there was a lot of flaws in that movie, but for the most part I expected all of those flaws, and I just enjoyed it for what it was.
Mhm.
On the critical side of things, I understand like the criticism and like breaking it down, but as far as just an entertainment value, for the most part, I was entertained. That being said, I agree with almost all the things you're saying, like a lot of wasted characters. There's a lot of sloggy parts, and it's like, why should you care about these? Like, I can't even remember half the character names, honestly.
I have no idea.
But
even the main.
but so here's
Her name's Cora.
Cora.
Yeah, only
Cora's
because I watched
breakfast.
interviews of Zack Snyder afterwards.
True.
Yeah.
Cora the Explorer. Yep.
Technically,
I mean,
yeah.
And her chain restaurant, Cora's Breakfast. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, what a good point.
Very expensive.
Yeah, $30 eggs. Yeah, here we come.
This economy.
So here's why this is why it was funny and confusing for me. So I don't think it's any secret that out of the group of all of us, I am we'll say the most critical of Zack's work.
I can't wait
And
till
then
we
the one
interview him
time-
and we're gonna fucking oust you so hard right in front of him.
I love Zack Snyder's work. I do.
Immediate 180.
No, I do. But I'm saying I would say out of all of you guys, I
No,
am
I
the
know.
least
Yeah,
like
I know what you're saying.
gung ho.
Yes.
So I went into the
Goopy
movie
gone.
expecting all of the things that you would expect from a Zack Snyder movie. So all the slow mo, all of like the super high visuals, like all the really cool stuff. Maybe not the best characters. And I walked out. I'm like, that's what it was, and I enjoyed it. But then these guys come out and they're like, all of the things that make it a Zack Snyder movie, I hate it. And I'm like, I'm so confused because all of the things that you love in all the other Zack Snyder movies,
I
you hated
disagree.
in this movie. And I was like,
I
I'm
disagree
so
with that.
Yeah,
man.
no.
The things that make a Zack Snyder movie is not why I hated it. Did I like the slow mo parts of it? Yes. Was it overused? Sure. But it was the story part of it. It was all the regular film stuff that every single movie has that I didn't like.
So then I posed this, which was the ultimate heresy in the train car, and then this is where I got I was stirring the pot because I just wanted to get the reaction. I was like, so I have a hypothesis here. I was
Did
like,
you have a hypotenuse?
Yeah,
Or
a
a
hypothesis. Yeah.
hypothesis.
I was like, well, since you guys are so attached to the Justice League characters and the DC characters and all those characters you love, do you actually like Zack Snyder's other movies, or do you just like his interpretation of DC characters? Because you just said it, you're so attached to Batman and Superman and all that, and it's like you love the slow-mo and all that when it comes to regards of interpretation of comic books, which it works for. But so would you say you're fans of Zack Snyder's work as a whole, or you just like the way he brings the DC characters to life? Because that was my hypothesis, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get him going with this one.
to counteract that point, though, it's like analyzing Chris Nolan's work, let's say, just because I know that's one of your top guys, and then just being like, well, because you didn't like Tenet because he messed with time, do you not like Chris Nolan and how he does work, or do you not like the way he represent? You know what I mean? That's the only reason why I disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's
and I get
just-
that.
Yeah,
The reverse hypothesis of that is, what were the other movies of his that we liked besides the DC properties? Because like the last, like we all came out and said,
Watchmen.
like,
Watchmen's DC. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but like not. I wouldn't even throw it in that.
it's like it was published by DC, right?
Yeah, but it's like-
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But 300, yeah, Hondos. Army of the Dead, I think we all can agree that Army of the Dead was a stinker.
Yeah.
We wanted to like Army of the Dead, but that one I could barely finish that movie. I'm like, what is going on?
was
Like,
not
yeah.
a fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
my thing with your hypothesis, we'll call it, is, believe it or not, when Man of Steel came out. Actually, no, I'll go even further back. When 300 came out, I had no idea who Zack Snyder was.
Right.
I didn't know he directed that movie. I didn't know he directed Man of Steel because I was not a fan of his at that point, like I am now. I loved those movies through and through. Like,
well, yeah, but we're talking about the
no,
Man of Steel and
I agree, right? But what I'm saying is, I didn't love those movies because I knew who he was as a director. I said, these are really good movies. Right. Who directed it? Oh, Zack Snyder directed them. You know what I mean? So like, to come and say like, do you only like his movies because they involve the properties, is not true, because I think he did not only a great job from every filmmaking aspect of directing those movies, producing those movies, whatever, helping design the looks of the characters from these movies. Like, no, I would say like both of them work in tandem. Yeah. And yes, obviously I love Batman, I love Superman, so like my emotions are heightened when I think
100%.
of that movie. But I think it's, at the end of the day, remove his name or add his name back, I think it's a great movie still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys made
And I
a
don't
good
even
point.
like it like because like obviously I like it because they're in it, but
Yeah.
I like it more so because it's like more of a political, like real world take on
Right.
like what would happen to someone like Superman
Mhm.
if he was literally in America. They'd be doing
Yeah.
exactly that,
Mhm.
putting him on a
And you give him these impossible decisions that he would have to face.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's why I disagree. And it's like, yes, like we're very hyperbolic in our love for the movies and the characters, but I genuinely like it doesn't matter whose name was on that movie.
Yeah.
I would love that movie and I would think it was completed very well.
Well, you guys made a good point on like when I presented that argument to you guys, like on the way home, you were like, I think a really strong way to look at it too is like you said, he had a whole team behind those movies, right? Versus the last two outings of his have basically just been his love projects that he's brought
Yeah.
to life on his own.
Mhm.
Like he's doing DP, he's directing, he wrote it, right? So when you see some of his best works, those are ones where he's in a full collaborative, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
team where he's not necessarily writing it. He might have a hand in writing it, but he's directing it. He's
Yeah.
focusing on just making the project come to
Mhm.
life,
totally.
right? And I agree with you. By the way, all of
Yeah.
my favorite Zack Snyder works are the DC movies. I
Yeah.
was just looking for
It's
a reason
just-
to stir the
it's-
pot, and I
it's-
just wanted to get you
no,
guys
I know.
going.
But honestly, like the way I look at that is like that's just happenstance that
Yeah,
they are.
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like obviously yes. Again, I love Superman. I love Batman.
Mhm.
Like that helps in assisting me in my decision making when it comes to what do I like, what do I not like
Mhm.
in those movies. But I just think they're great movies.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. I don't know. There's not much else I can say on that
Yeah.
other than like. I did not like Army either.
Yeah.
This movie in particular, going back to Rebel Moon, it just like, and I hate myself for doing this, and I never read reviews before going and watching a movie, especially someone like Zack that I like and appreciate. But some of the stuff I was reading was like it's very, very like derivative, and there's just like lots of contextualization, but then like nothing to show for
Unfinished
it.
ideas, basically.
Exactly.
yeah.
So like, and honestly, I really, really felt that the whole time. I'm like, I don't like. There's a lot of things being talked about, but like you
Yeah.
barely see the things they're talking about,
Mhm.
and like just them speaking to each other is supposed to make you care about each character, and like I just didn't.
Instead of it being like maybe a 10 episode
Yeah, like series
like
or
here's season 1 of Rebel Moon, which
Yeah.
you can flesh everybody out. Everybody gets their own episode.
100%.
An hour. Like that would have been like, okay, I'm
yeah.
into this.
100%. And like I know like Zack said, like it's his passion project, but I am very curious to see his cut, and I also wish they released the whole movie as its 4-hour
Mhm.
being or entity.
Because
Or did it
everybody
in a
knows
series.
that Zack doesn't work in short form. Like it's like there have been like 4 of his movies now that the extended director's cut is not simply just like an indulging of, him being like extra Zack Snyder. It's
No,
actually
it's
like major
fundamentally
story
changes the story,
Like
makes it
BVS
better
is
and
the
more
is the
cohesive.
ultimate version of that. Like
Exactly.
nobody saw the theatrical or nobody saw the director's cut. Everybody saw the theatrical one, bombed. The director's cut comes out and it completely changes the pace of
I mean, actually,
story
low-key,
of that movie.
BVS made a shit ton of money, comparatively speaking, to DC
Yeah.
properties. People don't realize that, too, because they think of it and they're like, oh, critically it got slammed and it did so bad. It made, like, north of $800 million, which...
because everyone
yeah.
was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
Batman and Superman, like
So,
going
like,
at
for
each
a
other.
quote-unquote bad movie to make still $800 million
Yeah.
is, like, unreal. Like, they
Mhm.
made money
Yeah.
on that, especially when the Blu-ray release came out, you know? So...
For a movie with this many characters, it needs to be longer. Like, look at Watchmen, for example.
Yeah.
That's another ensemble movie. What's that movie? That's got to be, like, that's 3 hours or at least pushing it. It's
And
very
his cut
close.
is even more.
245 or something.
Yeah, it's like
that,
pushing 3. So, I mean, like, we know he's clearly capable of ensemble movies, and I don't think it just simply comes down to, like, that it's original material, because nobody knows Watchmen characters, but you watch Watchmen, you understand everybody's character motivations and all that stuff, right? So, I
Mhm.
mean, like... Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of lackluster stuff.
Yeah.
Just bringing it back to Rebel Moon, so that we don't go on a on a BVS tangent. But
Well,
No way,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
us.
Why don't we talk about like what were some of like highlights? Like what was the highest point of the movie for you? Like if you had to walk away and you're like, oh, like that was what I remembered from it. Like
The
if
start of the movie.
yeah.
Beautiful, The
The
characters
score,
were like
too.
endearing.
We
The
were all like-
score, yeah, the score was awesome.
It was awesome, and then sorry to cut you off. It was awesome, and then like halfway through the movie, it was
Yes.
just Justice League.
Yeah, no, 100%. Could not agree more. But
Its
the beginning was
actual
so
theme's
beautiful.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, just like I don't know, I was just invested in every character. Like, I was at the edge of my seat when let's say they make first contact with the planet without giving spoilers, but
Yep.
you know what I mean. And then you're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen here? And you're kind of like. I don't know, anything could happen, and there were stakes instead of it just being like, oh, everybody's in it now. And there's no, I wouldn't say there was no stakes, but you know what I'm trying to say.
No,
It's
I know
like-
what you mean.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good highlight.
Yeah.
Again, visuals, obviously,
Yeah.
like stunts were pretty decent.
I personally I think Zack is tremendous at flashback sequences.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's when the slow-mo stuff is at its absolute best. Like when we got that sequence of Korra and her history, I won't go further, but the sequence of her backstory and the use of slow-mo in that. I wish a lot of that wasn't in the trailer because a lot of it was. But that being said, like some of those flashback sequences were some of the highlights of the movie, and I wish every character got a sequence like that, because I think like if every character got like a nice building moment to show who they are, where they came from, then we would have a reason to care for them more.
Yeah.
Which is like obviously the main character. She was the strongest point in the movie. Like I was invested in her story for the most part, but then it falls apart when you got like the 6 other ragtag
Yeah.
characters. But
I think like Justice League works so well. Like Zack Snyder's Justice League works so well because of those sequences with each character.
Yeah.
Like there's a large amount of time dedicated to each of them
mm-hmm.
that all roll into the main plot, but like they don't feel forced in. They feel like they're purposeful in being there. And I feel like that's exactly what this movie needed. Because like I don't care about, Abs McGee that tames Buckbeak. Like, you know what I mean?
he was my
like-
second favorite. To be fair, everyone else, at least they tried with him. They gave him a little bit, but
they,
everybody
they,
else
they
was
tried,
like,
but it was so random. And then Ray Porter like in there.
Yeah.
being just like,
Hey man, how the fuck are
like,
you?
I'm just so confused. I'm like, what am I watching right now?
Literally Buckbeak though.
Literally
like
Buckbeak.
R-rated
Buckbeak.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I have to talk about. I don't know if this like counts as a spoiler, but like one of the things about the theatrical cuts was like the cut away from fucking violence was driving me insane.
Yeah, same, dude.
Like usually, even in Zack's theatrical cuts, they're not as aggressive as this. Like every single point of contact, the camera cuts away.
It's like he was saving it because PG-13 ratings are obviously very like you can only get away with. There's literal set number of like swear words and like blood scenes and stuff you can show if you want to keep it under that rating.
Yeah.
And you could tell like the entire, like you said, like he was cutting away from it all movie until like 2 parts that I can think of right off the top where like they're dragging bodies. At one point you see blood trails, and then the one where like he gets shot in the neck and like splats on the ground. Then you're like, okay, well there's the 2.
Yeah.
And that's why they cut away. So that's also why I want to see his cut of this, because it's obviously going to be hella gory, and like I'm sure there's going to be a little more like breathing room as well. Like I can imagine that he's going to like kind of reorient the edit a bit.
Yeah,
but
I doubt we're gonna get the character development we want.
No.
But it'll still hopefully help the pacing a little bit.
I also like, that's why I want to see it in its entirety, because like regardless of what we thought of the first part, you could tell it was just like, here's everything, absorb it, and now let's actually get to the movie, because like we don't actually know what the main objective is at this point, really. So I am curious to watch it all as one whole. I'm not saying I'm going to magically love it, but like I'm open. Yeah, I'm open to it. I want to. I want to like it, But yeah, let's just finish up our thoughts on this right now, real quick, so we can move on to the Jonathan Majors news. Dan, out of 10.
It was sitting at a 5.5, 6 for me. I don't think it deserves the absolute bombing that it got on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it's not a 2 out of 10. Like, I won't go any further. 5.5, 6. That's it. Yeah. I wasn't upset by it.
Yeah, I would say probably the same. I would give it a 6 just because I know there's some dads out there that'll probably be like, that was a good action movie.
Yeah.
I like that. You know what I mean? Like they don't give a shit about story. Like, a lot of people got shot. Yeah, cool stuff. Like, So yeah, and I don't know. Like there were parts that I thought were really cool. Yeah. But it was just, yeah. Anyways, we haven't talked about it, so
Yeah, I would give it like a 5.5. Honestly, again, like visually, big fan of Zach's work. Like he fully shot this one as well, and he did a great job. Like I personally liked the look of this better than like Army, because in Army it was all like green lenses, like super close up, like tights. Like that drove me nuts because that was like the whole thing the whole time. Yeah, I just think like I want to like these characters, but nothing has proved to me that like I will at this point. But I am looking forward to seeing the full length of the movie, so the second part, and obviously his version. And I am open to seeing that, and I really want to like it. So yeah, 5.5, 5 for now. Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
love it.
Okay, moving on.
The DJ.
Let's talk about this Jonathan Majors news. So for a while, his trial has been cooking, and everyone's been like, okay, like,
Call
is
it
he
Daniel.
guilty? Is he? Exactly.
Someone cooked him.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Jonathan Majors has been officially charged with assault and maybe one other thing, but he has to serve up to a year in prison. Shortly after we heard that news, Marvel officially cut ties with him. Yep. Gave him the snips. So that means we are in uncharted territory.
We're in limbo.
So what do you guys think is going to happen? Are they going to recast, or are they going to completely course
First off,
correct?
terrible what he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's no excuse. No way did I ever say that. Right?
No. I know.
Just like to clarify.
No. Hey, listen. I just wanted to mention, just so we don't breeze over that.
Yeah,
Awful.
yeah.
Hope everyone's okay after such a
Yep.
thing. But who's also getting the shit on his stick is Marvel now, who has already been suffering from some of their shows,
The
which
movie
like.
titled The Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But like even like Marvel as a whole right now, I think there's like after Endgame, it was just like
Yeah.
Like-
To those of you who like the stuff that came after that too, like that's cool. But I don't know. It just, for me at least, it lost that certain level of like, I wonder what's gonna happen next. Because like they set themselves up for that culture too, which is funny. Because so when I hear people argue like, well, like end credit scene don't always have to connect and blah blah blah, it's like they kind of do though.
but if you had that at the beginning, we're gonna expect it for the rest of the
exactly. And
like-
now you've implemented them as a tool to get people hyped for your next movie.
Right.
So when it's either a joke throwaway that they throw in
like
there,
one time here and there, sure.
yeah, or you don't end up capitalizing on the ones you show us, aka the Shang-Chi one, which was actually very interesting. Then they just breezed over it, and we never heard about where the rings came from. Maybe we will, but it's like, why do we have to wait 5 years to find
Yeah.
something like this out? You know what I mean? So I'm skipping around all over the place right now, but I personally don't want them to recast because I've been very vocal about Kang and my dislike for him at this point because he's already been watered down so much.
And he got beat by Ant-Man.
And he
so
got beat
it's
by
like,
Ant-Man.
Wow, what a threat.
Yeah, and it like I don't know the actual lore if that's like the actual Conqueror or not, but like they pretty much set him up to be
titled
Kang the
himself
Conqueror.
the Kang
Yeah.
the Conqueror.
So like when you throw that and you throw his like comic book look in there and you make him seem so scary in the beginning of that movie, and then he gets taken away by a bunch of giant ants, I don't care about him anymore. I don't care that there are 500,000 other copies of him. It's no longer interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that point, it's like if you're gonna give me another version of Kang, just give me another character as a whole, because I don't care that it's Kang anymore.
Yeah, they
give me
still have
something
some big
interesting.
hitters that they could introduce
Yes.
for villains right now.
Dr.
so.
Doom is the most obvious one that people are like, well, they couldn't do that because that would feel shoehorned. Anything they do is gonna feel shoehorned now.
Yeah, at this
They're
point,
gonna what? They're
Yeah.
gonna put a new actor in as him? That's a shoehorn. Like
Yeah, they've never done that before.
no.
Rhodey.
But again, it's like people like that was the beginning of
Yeah.
this whole thing, and then they just breezed over it and they were like, oh
Yeah.
Yeah,
forget.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you guys want to see happen?
I mean,
I just don't care right now, so it's like whatever they do,
Well,
it's
yeah,
like
same.
I just hope
But-
they like bring something. You know what? I thought after Endgame, the first couple shows were pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like
I've been
pretty
really liking Loki,
pretty
too.
solid.
Loki,
I'm
I
not-
like.
Loki was great.
I feel like Loki wrapped
Loki.
up his season 2 wrapped up Kang
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yes.
I mean, like it almost
So let's
felt
not
like,
even introduce him back.
Yeah, no,
because
you
the
could just get
news
rid
was
of him
kind
at
of
this point.
unfolding as Loki was coming out, and when the last episode, it almost felt like they redid the ending to be like, oh yeah, Kang's done now.
Just in case this is true.
Yeah.
yeah, like because the way I interpreted the end of low-key was that like because he is now Yggdrasil, or I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but now he is the keeper of time, so he would be able to thread all of the stems with Kang. That's the way I interpreted it. But I mean, I know Kang's still present.
I feel like they've written themselves in a good place
Yeah.
so that they could use that as an excuse to be like, well, he's gone now, and that's it. He beat Kang.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a good victory for Loki too. It's like he's holding the universe together, and he beat Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
He conquered Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Move on
ya.
now.
Yep.
I think it'll be funny. I mean, I'm on your page with Dr.Doom. I think it'll be hilarious if, like, you know, like they made a joke out of it, and it's just like Kang like shows up at the beginning of the next Avengers, and then Doom just comes in and flicks him, and then that's it. And it's like, okay, I'm the next bad guy. You know, like I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's like you said, who cares? But whatever. I mean,
there are so
Yeah.
many ways they could do this too, because like I'm pretty sure they have quite a few properties coming out before they were supposed to do all those Avengers level things anyway. So it's like, why don't you go back to your roots, the stuff you created being the after credit scenes, and go shoot some stuff with Dr. Doom and have that as a constant, even if it's like not even contextualized, like you just see like creepy ass shots of him like in, you know, I don't know, in his skyscraper, like looming over, and like just little things like that, a la like, you know, like Thanos and Guardians, like reaching for the gauntlet. Like that was it. That's all we saw of him in the one thing.
Yep.
And like you don't actually like see him. You get like teases of Thanos leading up to it, but you don't actually see him until I forget what. I think it's the second Guardians or something like that. He turns in the chair. Or is that
No,
before
that's Avengers. He turns in the chair. Avengers 2, he grabs the gauntlet.
that? Okay, but
And
like
Is it
then
Avengers
Guardians?
2 when he's like, fine, I'll do it
then he
myself?
grabs
Like
it.
that's
yeah,
when he's like.
but like my point exactly. It's like where are those scenes?
Mhm.
Because like before that, you don't. It's not like you see Thanos in a solo movie first as the villain, and then like you carry on. No, you just saw him in those teases, and then that's it. And
You know,
then
be a perfect spot to introduce him in the post-credit scene. Fantastic Four.
Hey, don't even introduce him. Like, just introduce Victor Von Doom, not as his
Yeah.
metal-plated self, just
Mhm.
as a character, and he's just there, and you introduce, and you're like, and
please
you like
don't
know
do the-
he's there,
Yeah.
and then they fight someone else.
Yeah.
Like, who cares who?
Yeah.
I hope Fantastic Four is great because I love those characters. Footnote, but. Yeah, like give me that. Give me Doctor Doom. That's the only one you could really do that is still like popular enough.
Mhm.
Like you
And
can do
that'll actually
Silver
get people
Surfer.
excited too.
Yes,
Like
exactly. Or like Doom is like working with like yeah, I don't know.
Just don't do the
I could
plot
go
of
on
Fan
for
4
hours
Stick,
about
please.
this.
For the love of God,
Yeah,
don't
Fan
do Fan
4
4
Stick.
Stick, please.
Well, I think another big thing too is like use your big players right now. Like, you know, we explored the like tertiary characters. Cool. We got some backstories. Like, let's get back to the characters that everyone knows. Fantastic Four, Doom, like these big heavy hitters that are going to bring out a lot of people. And like, you know, it's not going to be a Disney Plus release. Like, let's go back to the theater. Let's get people excited. Like you're saying, get the post-credit scene, like start basically, I don't know, why change what works? Do exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
Start with like that first like Avengers, but it's Fantastic Four. Even bring in Spider-Man too if you still have him at that point, because who knows what's gonna happen with Sony. But like no, but like you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Just it'd be cool to restart almost, and like obviously yes they can do it differently. Obviously different characters and stuff, and you know there's only a million comic storylines that they could pull from, but.
That aren't multiverse stories too. Footnote. Just
Oh
wild,
my god,
eh?
yeah, get rid of that shit.
That's gotta go.
Yeah.
Although you know what, I will say my most anticipated movie that I didn't think I would be that excited for is Deadpool 3.
Yeah,
Like,
True.
that is looking very cool. Because obviously yes, I love Wolverine, but like it actually just seems like it's going to be written well. And like I've never been like a massive Deadpool fan, but like I enjoy the first two movies. The second one more than the first personally, but I think now having all these MCU properties to play with, and they're actually letting him play in those properly and like actually make fun of everything that's going on, I think it'll be the saving grace for the MCU, to be honest. Because it'll be
they
like
need something like that.
yeah, it'll be like pure fan service again, almost like an Avengers kind of movie, but it'll also be simultaneously tearing down the MCU in a way, because it's just going to be him constantly making fun of every bad decision they've ever made.
100%.
So I'm here for it. I'm looking forward
I
to
wonder
it.
if it's probably too late now, but they're still shooting it. But like, if they make fun of the whole John, they won't. It's too soon. But like, fuck him making fun of
Jonathan,
Johnny
oh
Majors and
God,
Kang.
yeah, I don't know about that.
that'd be heat.
Yeah.
That would be so fucking
Wow.
good. Though.
I don't
Like,
think they would do
no,
that.
they would
legally.
absolutely would never. But it would be hilarious.
Ooh, that'd be tough.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds would probably go for it. though.
Yeah.
Oh, for full send.
And then
for
they'd
sure.
leave it on the editing floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting room floor. Bye.
Yeah.
There's one more actually tidbit of news that I forgot to mention at the beginning of this, and this is the news that broke from James Gunn. We got to hear some little DC trickles coming out. Matt Reeves is directing an Arkham series, but
Which is
not in
interesting.
his universe.
Yeah.
It's
Do
gonna
we know if it's
be
gonna be
it's gonna be DCU.
Bad.
It's so weird. Like I don't understand that at all. To be
But he
honest.
rejected the Arkham Affleck script. So
Yeah,
which
very
is
confusing.
like interesting because it's like, okay,
He's like,
So
well,
what else did you
here's-
want to do with it?
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like there was another interview with Gunn recently, or not an interview. Like I think it was just like him on X, Twitter, and he was saying that Matt Reeves. It was Matt Reeves' decision to keep his Batman out of the DCU. So
honestly good.
that tells me, honestly, like I do agree, but it's kind of cool that James gave him the option to be like, hey, in my new universe, do you want Rob to be the Batman of that universe? So like that was kind of like interesting that like he even posed that question because that's how it was stated and phrased. So I'm assuming that's how it went down. But what's
A lot
even
of respect there.
yeah, I respect it. But what's weird to me is the fact that he was like, yeah, sure, I will direct something else for you, but instead of putting it in my universe, I'm going to do it for you in the DCU. So Matt Reeves effectively has become the designer of Arkham in the DCU for whatever unnamed new Batman will be there.
So directing two Batmans, if he's like putting
Yes.
everything into our paths,
Yeah.
how is he going to
Assuming-
differentiate?
assuming
it's
that-
weird, yeah.
I don't think Batman will make an appearance, maybe not right away in the show kind
Yeah.
of thing. It'll just establish, the typical rogues gallery of that
Yeah,
new
yeah.
universe. But then assuming that he stays on it and this new Batman is introduced at the same time, he might be directing two Batman, which is so wild
Yeah.
to me. Because they used to be so protective of that property and like especially even in like the Gotham stuff, like they wouldn't give him the budget to like make the suit. That's why it looks like I got it at Value Village yesterday. They've always been, or in Titans, they wouldn't let him. They wouldn't let them show his face. So
Yeah.
it's funny, even looking at that suit that you see in one of the Titans episodes when he's in that like rage spree, it doesn't have a symbol on it. It's just a stunt suit, but
Wow.
you see it all shrouded in black. But like they don't even let them do that. So it's like.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, there you go, you get a Joker, and you get a thing, and like,
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't get diluted again.
So we have like 4 different Batman. Just like
Yeah,
moving
just
around.
like relax. Yeah,
Fair enough. Well, lots to look out for.
yeah,
Aquaman's coming out.
Oh,
yeah. Wow, I keep forgetting about that. That's
Yeah,
how much
me
I'm
too.
looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Let us know
Even
what you
more
think.
comedy than last movie.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Sweet.
Buddy cop comedy. Let us know what you guys think of Rebel Moon when you eventually see it on, I think, the 21st, which is Thursday. Soon, actually. This is perfect timing for this coming out. And let us know your thoughts on the Jonathan Major ordeals with the MCU. What are you looking forward to most coming up in the MCU? I'm personally looking forward to Echo in Deadpool 3.
Oh yeah, true.
Echo looks phenomenal. I forgot to mention that. I think we all did, but it's incredible looking at least. And last but not least, what do you think about Matt Reeves directing Arkham stuff for the DCU and not his Black Series, The Batman?
Miss you.
Okay, bye.